Good evening. My name is José Luís Salles Marques. I am the moderator of this evening's roundtable conversation about being Macanese, the 21st century. And of course, tonight, our topic will be challenges of being Macanese today. And I have together with me a very great panel of very young people who will give their contributions and their opinions about what is being Macanese today. I have with me on my left-hand side the younger member of this panel, Rachel, and then I have Elisabella, I have Antonio Monteiro, and online, thank you very much, from Lisbon, Miguel Silva. So I want to thank Cunha Foundation for giving us the opportunity to have a series of talks on Macanese. I hope that we will be able to have 3 of them till the end of this year. And having said that, we will go immediately to the first question that I have, and I put it to you, Elisabella. Please let me know who you are, what you do.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation to be able to gather together here to have some thought-provoking exchange. I'm Elisabella Larea. I've grown up in Macau and also studied in Macau all the way. I've never left Macau. So, yo soy maquista, I'm Macanese. Actually, I'll just do a bit of introduction of my background. So, my father is Spanish, my mother is Macanese, so I'm an 8th generation Macanese in Macau. So I studied in an English school, so I'm more fluent in English. But thinking about the language-wise, I think Portuguese is also very important to the Macanese identity. So I also try to study Portuguese as much as I can, but I'm a bit embarrassed to share in Portuguese. So actually, my interest in Macanese culture and identity and research started when I was in my undergraduate studies. I did a paper on Macanese identity, and then I was very intrigued because I presumed Macanese was this, Macanese was that. But as I started my research, as I started interviewing people, I realized I was really very ignorant about what Macanese really are, because there's so much behind this community and the history. And so I started my master's degree on Macanese cultural identity performance in the global platform, meaning I went and looked over all the Gazas de Macau websites, see how people present our culture. And then also I decided to make a documentary. It was in 2007. 2007, almost 20 years ago, a documentary on Macanese called Filhos da Terra, that is available on YouTube if you would like to watch it. And it really started my pursuit on trying to preserve and promote Macanese culture. So it was also by that time that I joined Dossier Papier Sang de Macau as a volunteer. And my interest started to grow with patois as well as the theater. I started my research, my doctoral research in 2011. It was before it was enlisted as the intangible cultural heritage. At that time, it was quite difficult to do research on Macanese because not many information or studies were available. Either they were in Portuguese or in English. So it was at the time that I also thought, how about I write in Chinese, introducing Macanese culture to people. So I started writing in Chinese online and also giving seminars as well. And then I did also the patois flashcards. I don't know if anyone has thank you. So I did the patois flashcards. Actually, it was because when I was doing the theater research, I realized if I don't know patois, I wouldn't be able to analyze the patois theater. So I started studying it. I'm not a speaker. I don't dare claim it. But I think it is important for the Macanese to really know about our culture. And also because when you know your culture, you can go out and spread and promote and preserve. This is my
Yeah.
not very short
No,
introduction.
thank you very much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that's great. Well, Rachel, so how about you?
Yes, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Handley. Thank you so much for having me today. My father and I actually just came on a boat from Hong Kong, so not seasick, thank goodness for that. I was born and raised in Hong Kong, and I went to Australia for university, where I came back to Hong Kong last September, and I studied business and hospitality. My mother is from Hong Kong, and my father is English Macanese, so my grandmother is from Macau, and hence that's why I'm here today. So very, very excited to be sitting here and to be sharing my side of things, and to also have my father here as well, which is very, very exciting. So representing Club Lusitano, where I recently joined as the first youth member there, and that's just made my link to the Portuguese Macanese heritage much stronger.
Okay, thank you very much. And Antonio, you are
Thank you for the invitation to South Marcos. It's already a big challenge sitting here for this talk today. Born in Macau, I'm the grandson of JJ Monteiro, soldado poeta, ou poeta soldado, soldier poet. Currently the Secretary General of the International Institute of Macau, the entity focusing the publications of the culture, identity, and memory of Macau, and among many subjects. And also currently the president of the Macanese Youth Association. So I'm glad to share my views today, but I'll let Dr. Salchmak moderate the session.
Thank you very much. And of course, Miguel, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for your invitation. It's such a great honor and privilege to be part of this panel. My name is Miguel. I was born in Macau, but after high school, so I had to move to Portugal, where I decided to settle down, but not because I'm far away from Macau that I lost connection. And my roots are very important for me. I belong to a very old family, the Macanese family in Macau. So my grand uncle is Ade, is simply the poet, the only one known so far that definitely wrote and produced documents in patois. So and my grandma used to speak patois at home. So I do believe I come from a very original and genuine Macanese family. Been living here in Lisbon for the last 30 years, but still very interested and doing what I can here in Lisbon to keep the Macau culture, the Macanese culture alive. Unfortunately, not in Macau, but trying to give my best here in Lisbon. Currently, I'm part of the board of Casa Macau, and we are trying to keep the people together and trying to keep the culture alive. Basically, that's all about me. My academic education is my academic background, and Isabella definitely make me very interested, and I envy her study regarding the subject. But my academic background is engineering and banking, so. But my interest about the culture, my own culture, keep me looking for and participating and do some research about my own people.
Well, great. Thank you very much. So, how about your feeling of being Macanese in your daily life? Rachel, what is your challenge in Hong Kong, in the Anglo-Saxon world of Hong Kong, Anglo-Chinese Saxon world, Anglo-Chinese world of Hong Kong, yes.
Yes. To be honest, I feel like when I was growing up, I was quite segregated from everything in terms of in my household, I wasn't raised to speak Portuguese. The languages I know is predominantly English, and then followed by that is Mandarin and Cantonese. But however, my father did try to sprinkle a bit of culture here and there. I like cooking, so he would purchase me Portuguese cooking books. And from there, I would try to strengthen my links, and he would always mention, oh, your grandmother would love to make this recipe back home. I used to love making this dish when I was younger. She used to feed me minchi, and going to Club Lusitano quite regularly as well from when I was younger growing up. That's how I realized that there is a link there, and I've always wanted that link to be stronger. And so after becoming a member myself, it was a real privilege to be able to have the opportunity to do so once that opportunity did come up just a few months ago. So my Portuguese and patois is non-existent, which is a shame. And that's something that I do want to work on. And of course, being here is a real privilege and honor. And that's hopefully my first step towards being more involved with things like this and just trying to explore this part of myself a bit more.
Yes, thank you very much. How about you, Antonio?
Well,
What do you
my
see?
feeling is wide, but of course, many of my knowledge depends on books because maybe I think each mechanism depends the background they have, right? Having my grandfather as a poet, and also my parents passing me the legacy or many of the history or stories, little stories of Macau, make me interested about being more into the knowledge of being what is the Macanese issue, right? But also the connected to the history of Macau. So I think there's plenty of things that the culture deserves to be explored and to be researched. And I think this is what makes Macau different until today.
Yes. How about Miguel? What do you have to say about this? Every day in Portugal,
My
how
main
is your
challenge
life as a
is
Macanese?
my main challenge is I am Macanese, so there's not much I need to do to be that. So I just live as a Macanese. But my biggest challenge nowadays is to keep the culture alive, as I mentioned before. And I do believe that it's one's uh, duty in order to keep it alive is to try to pass it on to the next generation. As we can see, we have to define, actually, I do believe we have to define what is Macanese. So you have four people talking to you, and basically they are all Macanese, obviously, but the background are so different. You have one that lives in Hong Kong. You have a beautiful lady there, Elizabeth, that studies academic. But what truly defines a Macanese is the gastronomy, is the language, is the patois, is what is it important to know the whole history of Macau to be Macanese? So what I'm trying to tell you is that whenever I can, I will try to pass on the knowledge. I try to pass on the traditions to the newest generation. And I've always been telling my friends, for instance, talk to your kids in patois if you know patois. Try to make something real, not something as a show or a academic issue. Try to live your culture. Try to make Macanese food at home. Try to, keep the tradition, the Christmas tradition. And this is my main challenge: is to tell people, to convince people that culture will live if you pass it on to the next generation. So that's why I do believe that we are doing quite a nice job in Casa Macau because we are gathering people. I do believe that actually, currently, Casa Macau is making more Macanese food more frequently than many Macanese families in Macau. And we keep people together, but more than that, we try to make public, we try to catch more members, and we're trying to convey, to transmit the knowledge, the habit, the tradition, our way of life to other people that not necessarily Macanese.
Well, before we go on, I just want to say that it's a tradition in Ricunha Foundation that these talks that we have are available online through the Facebook page of the Ricunha Foundation. So I hope that many people are actually watching now. And so we are sharing this conversation, of course, with this wonderful audience that is here today, sitting here today with us, but also with a wider audience through Facebook. And to all this audience and all to all of you as well, and to my colleagues here, every time that we talk about Macanese, we come always to that same challenge, how to pass the culture to, to the next generations, and how to have people, more people to participate. I think, Rachel, you are a very good example of the good job that your father and your family is doing in regard to passing this. But my question now is to Elisabella. Do you think that it's very important to actually have a more centralized or a better, on the one hand, of knowledge about Macanese in different areas? Of course, cuisine, for instance, there is the website, I think from MGTO, Macau Government Tourist Office, where you can find different recipes of Macanese cuisine. But I'm sure that maybe 99% of Macanese and every other people don't actually know about that. Probably, right? And about the other things, you are a researcher. Sometimes I do myself some, and it's so hard to get research material on Macanese. So, of course, research is not the only thing, but the idea of true history, true research of different aspects of the Macanese history and life and culture and so on, to let more people know about our communities. What do you think we can do? You know, what is the challenge, and how can we do something positive about that?
I think there are different layers to that question. For example, I totally agree that we need to live this tradition. Mm-hmm. It is our first stage. Yeah. Because then we are aware that who we are and how we can perform our cultural identity. When I say perform our cultural identity, I don't mean on stage, but daily life, mm-hmm. through what we eat, which when we talk about food, everyone is interested. I do know that some people might say, Macanese culture is not just about food or patois. But then, to be honest, these are very attractive items. For example, especially for non-Macanese to understand, because I think to do research, it had been a really hard quest when I started my research, because I started my research 20 years ago, and then at that time most materials were in Portuguese, but they were all scattered, and now I have been approached by many different researchers from all over the world, from France, Japan, Malaysia, and mainland as well. They are very interested in studying about Macanese culture. I think one of the challenges is how we can transmit this knowledge. I think it is our responsibility to know about ourselves, our culture. Because I remember talking to Amana, a senior, that she was saying that many people that come to Macau they live in Macau and they don't even know about Macanese. And I asked her, did you tell her about Macanese? And then she said no. Then I said, how can people know about Macanese if you don't go out there and tell people? I remember when I did a seminar. In 2014, I remember very well. It was a seminar where the target audience were all Chinese. It was done in Cantonese. And then there was an old lady, 60 years old, and she said, my mother used to work in a Macanese family. She cooked Macanese food at home, but I didn't understand at all about Macanese. And then I received email asking, actually I have a Portuguese name, I studied in Portuguese school, but I don't know if I'm Macanese. So it's very interesting when you go out there and interact. And during research, publishing books, I think it's very important because you have records. But of course, to write this, you need to put effort. You need to read a lot, you need to study a lot, and you need to reach out to the communities. Because I've also known a group of Chinese that are very interested in patois. And they want to promote or help promote patois. They learned about it for a few months, but they didn't really interact with Macanese. So I tried to tell them that you need to put out and be in the community, because to understand a culture, you need to mingle among people. It's not just online or books, which I think that's what many people are doing as well, but you need to interact with people. So I think this kind of talk or interaction is also one of the ways that we can pass on this message.
Yeah. So Rachel, how about of course, the Lusitano Club is a huge, I would say, in the sense that it's a very important infrastructure that the Macanese Portuguese community has in Hong Kong. So how do you feel now that you are a member? I think you're the first young member of Club Lusitano, right? So how do you see the importance of having a place like that, to help do the job that, after all, is a very personal thing that each Macanese should do? But of course, it depends also on the conditions that each one has to perform that kind of job. So what do you think about that?
Yes, I think it's something that the club recognized. It's something that, for example, with the membership, they wanted more youth to be enrolled with the membership. They wanted more youth to come to the club to appreciate the culture that the club has. And by doing so, one way that they did so is by opening up the youth membership program, which is why I joined in the first place, for the youth who necessarily won't be able to have the means to afford the level of membership that a normal member would pay for. Then they opened it up to youth members, and where we can actually also learn but experience the culture that the club has, the events, the activities, and also be open to experiences like this, and also the reciprocal clubs, Club de Recreo as well in Kowloon and Hong Kong, things like that, just being able to branch more to the other clubs and being more immersed in, like what you said, also just mingling with other people and having opportunities like this to do so, and just building upon your point as well. And back to the topic of this discussion, one of the challenges of being Macanese, when I introduce myself to someone who I've never met, they normally say, "Oh, where are you from?" I said, "I was born and raised in Hong Kong." They said, "You don't look like you're from Hong Kong." That's when I say, my dad's English Portuguese, and I would say my mom's from Hong Kong. But notice I didn't say Macanese, because growing up, I used to say Macanese, and people would say, "I don't know what that is. I don't know what Macanese is." So I started saying Portuguese just as a way to make it easier. And then more recently, I've just started saying Macanese more, coming back to the point of education, educating people around me. "Oh, if you don't know what it is, I'll be happy to share with you what is it that it is, how it links, how Macau links to Hong Kong, why I'm in Hong Kong, why I was born and raised in Hong Kong, the links with my family." Of course, not to bore them with the details like that, but just also educating them and those who do want to listen, and for them to spread that news as well and to cherish that aspect of that culture. I feel like it's really important.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think this is a topic that I like to pass also to Miguel. Well, Casa de Macau in Lisboa is I think after Club Lusitano, the second oldest Casa de Macau in the world, right? Club Lusitano was in the 19th century, and then I think Casa de Macau in Lisboa was 1950 something, right? So how are you doing in terms of trying to attract new people, younger generations, and eventually even people who are not necessarily, and I'm sure that is the case in Portugal, they were not born in Macau, of course, they might have been born somewhere else. So is there anything that you are doing on that? I mean, I think that would be very interesting to know.
I will give you a more detailed answer later. Yeah, but Casa Macau has been very dynamic with this board, and we are innovating. We are creating new events. We are trying to attract a younger generation of Macanese, and somehow we are quite successful, because not that I go there quite frequently. I have a quite very busy life, but whenever I go there, I can see that there each time we have more younger people, teenager and 20 something, which is a very good thing. And so we are creating new events. We are trying to attract people. We now have not only chá gordo, which is kind of a big thing, but every now and then, every 15 days, I do believe we have minchi. So basically, a guy go there and pay a symbolic amount of money. I don't know, 10 or 15 euros. And there's only a minchi. So but the purpose is to keep people together. And we have interviews and we have mahjong sessions so we are doing a lot of new stuff, trying to attract new audiences. But let me just go back a little bit to Isabella on your comment about that lady that never heard about the Macanese. I'm sorry to return to this point. My point of view is that don't forget that during many years, maybe the 50s, 60s, 70s, Macau suffered from the fact that it was a colony from Portugal. And as a colony, people have try to refuse being a mix, a mestizo, that's what we call. I do remember that, although I always spoken patois at home, my mom and my grandma always told me, don't speak patois. Because patois is not, it's a wrong language. You have to speak Portuguese. So I have this kind of a feeling of not, I don't want to say shame, but the kind of, we're not Macanese is a non-existent thing because it's kind of a second category of population. So probably this justifies the fact that we have all these debates and seminars and blah blah, probably because of the handover, and we feel the need to keep the culture alive. We all of a sudden we are awakened for this awareness. What is Macanese? Because if the handover didn't happen, probably this kind of debate won't exist. You know what I mean? So the fact that being Macanese is not very known is because you have many generations that kind of, we rather be Portuguese than be Macanese. Macanese is nothing. Macanese is so insignificant. And all of a sudden you have this handover thing, people living, and we suddenly feel that the culture is dying. So we need to talk about it. We feel the need to keep it alive. And that's my little contribution to your comment.
Yeah, I think Miguel raised a very interesting actually issue, which is the historical context. Of course, the historical context, for instance, of what we are living today is also a very big challenge for us because we are living in a very special time here. We are living in a time where everything seems to be to run so quickly, everything is being accelerated, either because that, technology, AI, and everything else that tends to, after all, make things that in the past maybe took 1 decade or maybe a few years to happen in just a span of a few months or sometimes even shorter. So, and then we have, of course, I don't want to talk about the geopolitical context because this is out of this conversation. But the fact is, yes, I think I agree with you that the historical context has somehow led us, and I lived through, and I think some of us will live through all this period of time, to have more conversations about the Macanese, do Conselho das Comunidades Macaenses, which I represent here today, was also only created in 2004. So it's very, this history and the historical context is very important. And so I asked Antonio, you are the president of AGM, Associação de Jovens Macaenses. And of course, I know privately about your challenges, but I would like you, on one hand, to share with us, but on the other hand, look at the positive signs as well. Because I think it's very important, and one of the things that really impressed me a lot, I have to say, is when I go to the events that are hosted at the IIM about June, 24th of June, the old Dia de Macau, right? Dia de Macau, 24 de junho, which of course I had the honor to celebrate the last one as the president of the Senado in 1999, and it's something very dear to me. And I see Chinese organizations and Chinese participants very keen on acknowledging that day and talking about that. So please, take the floor.
Very challenging question. Well, we'll go step by step here. I see many comments already. I will not repeat here, but I will take as a chance to explain maybe better, I don't know, is when we talk about generations today, right? Because, well, like Miguel Silva said, it's true, we have the handover, but we cannot just stay in the past and talk about the past. We need to go forward, right? So we need to adapt the reality. I think the Macanese always adapt through the centuries in Macau,
Survival.
500 years, right? And now here we are. We are still here. I see young people here. I see many young faces here, not just old faces, not just old Macanese. And even the old Macanese are trying to teach us something. I think we need to grab this knowledge. About the generation, I still want to say, but I'm from the 80s, right? So I stay until 1999. I see the 1999, and I'm still in the SAR, like Isabel, like Rachel, and many other new faces. We also have the generation who born in the Macau SAR, starting in the Macau SAR, and after 20 years of Macau SAR, my children, right? So how we will pass the message to the young people, of course, is the challenge. But we have the means necessary to do it. We cannot forget that many people say Club Lusitano, Isabel have the Macro Association. We have the civil society here. We have the associations in Macau. We have the Macanese Association, the Macanese Youth Association, Instituto Internacional de Macau, Conselho das Comunidades Macenses. All these associations have a purpose here, to work together not in the unity sense, but we need to work together to promote our culture. That's why we have these associations, these clubs, the Casas de Macau, and so on. So how we can work, of course, many things already, like Bella said, produce. We have publications. We have just the IM. We have many publications about the Macanese I bring here today. This is from Dr. Angel Dota, Alexandre Sofia Rangel, a very good book about Filhos da Terra, Comunidade Macense ontem e hoje. A very compact book, but we explain very well what is Macanese. Recently, Patois, yes, which have a challenge working with Bella, a self-study guide. So I didn't. When I go through with Bella with this, we were insane doing this. Okay, we were insane doing it, but here we are, in Portuguese, in Chinese, and in English. And this book is also the 500 Years of Macau, from Stuart Braga, and many other books I can present here today, but not just from the IM, of course. When Dr. Salles Marques tell about the São João, the 24th of June, our Dia de Macau, I will say, of course, many people already said also a Macanese Identity Day, Mackenzie Diaspora Day, because it's true. The 24th of June, we are still promoting not only for the Macanese, but we need to open the door to the Chinese community, of course, because Macau, we have the Chinese community and the Portuguese community as well. So when we do a São João festival, where we still have until today, I think at least the associations are working to still have the São João in the next month, and actually the IM and also joined with the Club Lusitano Hong Kong to do a São João Day in the 23rd of June. So why we do this? Because we want to celebrate the day that was ours, right? The Dia de Macau. Why? Because the Dutch tried to invade Macau in 1622, right? And we unite together, the Portuguese, the Macanese, and the Chinese together, and even now the African slaves, according to the research, they're trying to conquer Macau, and then the victory. And we have the Jardim da Vitória, the Victory Garden. We have the statue there. Why we have the ceiling of Leal Senado, não há cidade mais leal, né? Portanto, Leal Senado. So all these elements we need to put together, and maybe we can do more. Of course, not the publications is a base. Today we have the new technology. Of course, we are already doing. We have a documentary. We have videos done about the 24th of June. It's promoted with 3 languages. So Bella also said a point that is important is not only publish and not only just doing videos, how to achieve to the community, how to a broad audience, how they can get what is this Macanese culture, right? So of course, many associations are already doing. They are entering in the schools because I talk. Maybe I don't know is a good opportunity to say this, but when I study in the Portuguese school, I have the Portuguese history. The people who learn or in the Chinese schools, they learn the Chinese history. But we have maybe a lack of the Macau history as well. So maybe entering the schools through the associations is what at least AJM or even the IM is doing. We are trying to take the publications, take these videos, take a workshop there to explain what is this about patois, what is this about the St. John Festival, and even the cuisine. If people have talent to teach how to cook the minji or even other, because I'm not a cook expert, right? but at least I like to eat the Macanese cuisine, right? So I think there are many points here we can do, but of course we need the means, we need the support. So Macau, until now, I think they are doing a good job, at least subsidizing many local associations to do this job. So I think we need to use this well to promote and to keep this culture in Macau.
Very good. Well, now, Rachel, you are the first one, but what is the prospect that let's say in 1 year time, there will be 20 young members of Club Lusitano? What do you think about that? You think that is a possibility, something that is going to happen?
I think so. I like to remain very optimistic. I can tell that more recently, especially the older generations are trying to have the younger generations become more involved by giving us opportunities, by inviting us to things like this, and just trying to close the gap between the older and the younger. That's the first step in doing so, by sharing knowledge, as everyone mentioned. And hopefully it be many more than 20, but from what I know, it's been upwards and onwards and increasing. And to me, it's very exciting to see, and to be able to slowly build up that youth community in Hong Kong is something that I really aspire to see. And it's something that I think a sense of community is something that's very, very important and something instilled within everybody. So that's definitely something that I would want to hold on to. And
Great.
hopefully in a year's time, when we come back, then I can say
Okay.
it's doubled
So
and tripled.
next time, when you come back in 1 year time, we will do something only with the younger.
It's pressure on my dad now to try to get it up.
Okay, thank you very much. So Miguel, you said that you have something kept that you would like to say something more about the prospects of attracting the younger generations to the Macanese events and organizations.
Basically, and after I explained, I said what I was planning to say. So I do believe that Casa Macau, as you mentioned, is the second oldest institution, Macanese community in the world, so besides Club Lusitano. And I'm glad to be part of this board, because we are truly investing our time and our energy in order to, because Casa Macau during many years has been dying, has been slowing down. The number of members was reducing, and it was completely depending on other sources of funding. And nowadays we are managing a new dynamic, so that we are having new members. We are doing a lot of events, profitable. Why not say it? Because although we are not looking for profit, but we need money to survive. And we are going on a very good track. But forget the financial problem and the situation. I see many new faces and younger and even kids, and we have very talented people in our community. So we have people that play piano, and we're promoting karaoke session. what's important is that to make it a very pleasant place to be, not that idea of only older generation, everything is still talking, blah, blah. So I think Casa de Macau in Lisbon is becoming quite an interesting place for people to join.
Thank you, thank you. Now, Elizabeth, you are also the founder and the president of the Macanese Culture Research Association, MACRA. So this is quite a new organization, maybe 2 years old now?
Yes, 2 years,
Yeah.
maybe.
And so what are the prospects of having this organization grow? And I don't know exactly how many members you have now, but of course, this is a very important association.
Actually, Macra is really blessed to have a group of people from different fields. We have people, for example, Baldino is from UFM, that he specializes on gastronomy, with Carolina as well. And then we also have people that are interested in Macanese music, like Delfino and so on. And although our name is Macanese Culture Research Association, not everyone is really into the academic field, as we say. We are a group of people gathered together, composed of 11 board members. We don't have membership yet because we want to start slowly, but probably by next month we will open our membership, because we would like to attract more people to join in and also to participate in our events. Recently, we focus more on utilizing the social media. We have podcasts. We invite people to talk about Macanese culture. Our first episode was Minchi Gong O Sing Oval. So we were debating about that.
Big debate, big debate.
So it's more like a chit chat, talking. We will also have invited people talking about like Russo talking about Tuna Macanese and also hockey, which is an important part of Macanese culture in the past as well. And also we have been making short videos of about 1 minute or 2 minutes in 3 languages, introducing different topics of Macanese culture. Like even we have a video talking about making lo bak go, and also about Song Zhuang and different kind of topics. So this is a way that we think, because I know today's topic is challenge, but I also see opportunity, because in the recent, especially that this recent 15 years or so, there has never been such a moment in which we celebrate so much about Macanese culture. We talk about Macanese culture, and especially when we have been enlisted, 2 of our Macanese items have been enlisted as National Intangible Cultural Heritage. I was honored to participate in a symposium that was held in mainland China that talks about ICH. And then the secretariat of the national ICH was there and was very interested in learning about Macanese culture as well. I also agree that we should have, because I went to Singapore and they had Kristang Festival. I think we should have a Makista Festival, because especially we can have different kind of, Song Zhuang is one, and also how about we make a Makista Festival, for example, during Carnival, because Carnival is part of our really tradition where we have food, we have music, and we also have patois theater that was presented in the past during Carnival. So I think we can collaborate. I think different kind of associations have their different use. For example, RDM is more like a gathering. AJDM faces a lot of young people. And then I think we should, each of us flourish in our own way and then collaborate our forces. I think this is the future prospect that I hope to.
That's really very optimistic. And not only optimistic, based on reality, on facts, right? It gives us a very good mood for the next question. That is to Antonio. You are a member of the Committee of Cultural Heritage, so we all just talk about intangible heritage. So in your view, how important is that Macau, there are 2 items of Macanese culture that are not only uh, intangible heritage of Macau, but as well as of China as well.
Yes, we have the theater of Patois and the Macanese gastronomy as an intangible heritage of Macau and the People's Republic of China now. But of course, it's not enough. Not enough. It's never enough. But we have many already inside the list, like the processions, right? Like even the St. John Festival, the 24 de Junho, is actually in the inventory list.
Oh, that's great.
So,
that's great news.
How we can push this festival one day, part of intangible heritage, I think we need to show very well this festival, not only as a brand to treat the Sardinians, okay? But we need to be more realistic. I think already I talked with Miguel Fernandes many times, and he agreed. We need to push more about the history also, because people, at least even especially the Chinese community in the COVID times, when we didn't have the São João festival in the São Lazarus, exactly the IAM joining together with ADM, the Casa de Portugal, the Macanese Youth Association. I wasn't the president before, and we joined together and talked. Well, we need to invite the Chinese community as well to let them understand what is this about the São João. So that's why when we make, I agree with, we also need to have conferences and seminars, because yes, sometimes people sit together, maybe we will listen 2 hours, but it's important to understand the logical sense and the history background about the São João, because it's not only a festival. We need
yes,
to,
of course.
So if we show, I think, if we show this well to the society, to the community, even the government, they will understand that this is also a diversification that they want, is economy diversification as well. So if we show this very well, then maybe this will be in the inventory list of the intangible heritage. So without the intangible heritage, I think we just have monuments, right? But we need the pedras vivas. The pedras vivas are exactly the people, not only the Macanese, but the population, the tourists joining together. And maybe this is will make Macau different. So what we need, I think, in the end, is promoting Macau. I think this is the message. But we need to promote what is ours, and this is and the Macanese culture is not only for the Macanese.
Yes, of course.
We need to promote for the outsiders as well.
Yes, of course. I think that is a very good take. Macanese culture is not only for the Macanese. So we open the floor for a conversation, for questions, for comments. Please. Yes, let me, I think we need a mic first.
Hi, my name is Juliana. Nice to meet everyone. I'm really happy to be here because I feel like this is like, I have a lifelong identity crisis about being Macanese. So maybe I could do a small introduction of myself. My name is Juliana. My dad is Macanese and my mom is Chinese. And I was born in Macau. I was born in 1999, which was like the year, yes. So like yes. But from the time when I was in kindergarten all the way until the end of secondary school, I went to a Canadian school. And this is the joke I make. I always tell people I'm a gringo Macanese because I don't speak I speak Cantonese and I learned Portuguese as an adult, but like I feel like when you don't speak the languages, it disconnects you from your culture and your roots, especially if you don't grow up with people that are like you. I think that creates a lot of dissonance and like an identity crisis, right? But just a little bit of my background. So after I graduated high school, I went to Portugal for 3 years to learn Portuguese, and then COVID came and I decided to come back to Macau to live here, and I study law now in the University of Macau. And just so you have a little bit background of who I am. And I just wanted to add to the discussion. I hope it's okay. Like it's a bit long, but I'll try my best to be super short about it. I think it's so paradoxical, the identity of being Macanese, because it's a product of mixing Chinese culture and Portuguese culture. And I think it's so interesting because being Chinese is an integral part of us, but I think a lot of Macanese people, whether consciously or subconsciously, also make it a point to identify ourselves distinctly from being Chinese. And I also always found this phenomenon a little bit hard to grapple with. I'm not sure if any of you guys relate to that. On one hand, I think, are we refusing to describe ourselves as just Chinese because identifying as just, sorry, quote unquote, just Chinese feels like we're ignoring other important aspects of our identity. We aren't just Chinese, we're not just Portuguese, we're like this tertium genus, right? And are we scared to lose our unique ethnic and cultural identity, which is on the verge of extinction, to the Han racial majority? Like, as racial minorities, are we afraid that our culture will be subsumed by the racial majority? I think subsumed will be a good word. Like, you don't want to be subsumed by the Chinese majority, but like to identify as either or would be very, it won't paint a complete picture, right? So that's one side of that's one argument. But I think on the other hand, I really appreciate what Miguel had brought up just now, because I think the harms of colonialism isn't brought up much, if at all, in the discourse of the Macanese identity. Portugal was the first and longest colonial empire, and it started this transatlantic slave trade. Of course, the treatment of the Portuguese towards the Macanese is incomparable to like what happened in the African colonies. But I think Portuguese colonialism, not just Portuguese, but colonialism generally inherently implies like Eurocentric and white supremacist ideals, and is our refusal to, identify as one or the other, like a symptom of maybe internalized racism? And are we refusing to embrace one side of our culture, like Macanese identity, as maybe Miguel has pointed out just now, because to establish maybe a proximity to whiteness, so that we can pull ourselves up a rank in this like unspoken racial hierarchy? And I think that's one like other side of the discussion. And maybe the intention is just less malicious. Like maybe it's like, I think.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Can you just
Sorry, I'm so
shorten?
sorry.
Yes,
I was like,
please shorten. Thank
sorry.
you very much. Thank
Sorry.
you very much.
No, I don't think I have any like big final conclusion. I think it's a very complex topic, and there's a nugget of truth and everything. But what I wanted to say was, I think there are, sorry, just really quickly, I think one of the challenges is that I feel like the kids of this generation, at least people my age or younger, I find that people that go to the Portuguese schools are like very Portuguese, and the people that go to Chinese schools are very Chinese. And I think there's losing the very specific Macanese thing that is very common in my parents' generation, where like they can code switch between Cantonese and Portuguese, and I feel like very few young Macanese people can do it nowadays. I can't. And but I think one of the challenges, but I think one of the opportunities to grow. I know Elizabella, written books. I actually read all of them, and actually follow all your accounts as well. And I really appreciate the work you're doing. And I think one of the other things you could perhaps try to do is, I'm not sure if you ever considered this, like maybe do TikTok, because I feel like short form video is like a great way to like capture young people these days. And because young people don't have an attention span these days. And I think it's a very I think a good way to, other than just videos and movies, it's like another way to connect younger people to the Macanese culture. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So there is one open, very long question
Sorry.
or comment,
Sorry.
whatever. I don't know if any of you would like to pick on that and say something about it.
Yeah, actually, thank you for your sharing. It's
Thank you for
thought-provoking,
listening.
so-
Sorry about that.
No, it's actually very, very interesting. I was really listening to what you were saying. And I went through that identity crisis as well. And I think almost all Macanese go through different kinds of identity crisis. Especially studying in an English school, there were many people that asked me, I don't speak fluent Portuguese, am I Macanese? I think it's first of all how you define yourself. If you think you are Macanese, I think that is our own confidence, and this is something that all Creoles or Mestiço faces. Actually, it's normal. so you can just relax. It's normal, and it takes time. It took me 10 years to really arrive into that confidence, into saying I'm Macanese and to know about it. So I think it's really great to share your opinion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
May I just add a word?
Yes, please.
Juliana, that's a very long, very nice and intelligent comment from you. And Isabella just mentioned one thing that I was going to mention, is the definition what is the definition of being a Macanese? Everybody's Macanese, but how you feel it, how you feel it. Your comments deserve two notes from me. That the very first one is, it's got to be a long question. It's about the colonialism, but that's another story, and this is not the topic here. But the second note that I would like to do is that Macanese is Portuguese mixed with Chinese. This is a very recent thing, but I'm no academic, so maybe Isabella can confirm. But I truly believe that the origin, the oldest family, 400 years ago when the Portuguese first arrived in Macau, the Chinese community is so close that they were not allowed to marry Portuguese guy. It's not without any reason that Chinese call foreigners guailou. So if you see, typically the oldest generation Macanese, and I mean the oldest families, even the physical features, they're not Chinese. They are mixes of Portuguese with some kind of Asian, Malaysian, or whatever that they took along the way until they reached Macau. This is the first subtopic. And the second thing is that the oldest generation Macanese, and I insist in saying the oldest generation because things change very much the last 30, 40 years. There's a much more mixture of Portuguese locals and the Chinese community. That's a reality. But when I mention the oldest generation, I mean 60 years ago. If you see those Macanese, they share much more values and characteristics and tradition, much more the Portuguese side of the things than the Chinese. The oldest families, Macanese family, don't use chopstick in home. The oldest generation is traditionally Catholic. You know what I mean? Even patois is is an old, disturbed way of speaking Portuguese, not Chinese. So all this together make it, for me at least, kind of a natural, the oldest generations, kind of a natural thing to say, sorry, we are descendant of Portuguese. What are we? What we share? What common points we share with the Chinese? This is not a segregation. Don't take it as nowadays everybody's discrimination. It's not a conscious discrimination of things. It's the result from the condition that people live at that time. On one hand, we have Chinese community that is close. On the other hand, the reality is that the values the Macanese community have at that time is much more Occidental, Westerner than the Eastern. And we can go a long way about the colonialism, but I'm not venturing into that. I hope I can contribute a little bit.
Thank you. I think up to now, yes. Do you want to add something to this? Please, Stephen.
Thank you. Incredibly fascinating. And what you've been talking about here in this last 1 hour has been, I think you summed it up, I think identity crisis. But frankly, I mean, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Stephen Handley. I'm Rachel's father. I was born in Hong Kong. We go 7, 8 generations back. 3 generations to Macau, 4 generations to Hong Kong of Macanese heritage and Macanese blood. I don't speak a word of Portuguese because of my upbringing. I was educated in the UK during the 70s, and where I had an identity crisis, and I really was brought up trying to be a Brit. And I came back to Hong Kong and had a very fruitful career in Hong Kong. Towards the end of my career life now, and now the general manager of Club Lusitano, which is, I took this on board mainly because I really wanted to make a difference and bridge this gap. And really, this is really what I want to say without being too convoluted, but what I've heard from yourself, and I have to say, Isabel, this is the first time that in these kind of forums that I've actually heard about bringing in the Chinese. And so really, I without sort of like looking at your new organization, but it does appear that you're trying to bridge a gap. You're trying to bridge now. And I think that's some kind of acknowledgement that we need without losing our identity, which is quite important, like Rachel's fluent Mandarin, Portuguese. sorry, not Portuguese, but fluent in English, fluent in Chinese. And this is something we can't get away with. But there's a lot of food for thought already brought up here. And I think that the direction is really just trying to nurture the new generation, because you can't fight them, but really work with them. And just one question, which is really, again, for food for thought. Will there be a time, sometime down the road, that on the definition of Macanese, will everybody in Macau actually be called Macanese, regardless who you are, rather than our narrow definition of what Macanese is, our traditional outcome? Because sometime down the road, generations to come, and then, of course, the bigger picture of things, people start calling Macau Macanese anyway. But perhaps we may need to embrace that. Thank you.
Very well. Great question to everyone. So would you like to contribute to any of you first, the panel?
I have many layers here, like before, but I repeat again that the Macanese, they have different backgrounds, each one of us. So depending on our family backgrounds, our heritage, for example, I have more attached to the Portuguese heritage, right? It's an example, but it's true. I have the Portuguese education. I read Portuguese, I speak Portuguese, but I also learn the Cantonese as well. I speak Cantonese as well. I had the Cantonese in the TV, in the TVB, Hong Kong. I learned the Cantonese through there. so the English, I try to attach myself, but it's what it is, right? But then I went to Portugal for my degree, and then I was one day sitting in my cell and said, I want to return to Macau. My parents were so surprised. Well, you want to go back to Macau? Yes, I want to go back to Macau. Why? Because there's something in the blood, in something I want to go back to Macau. I was seeing the internet. I don't know, I didn't have plan at all. I just want to go back to Macau. And then when I returned to Macau, just what I know from my culture, what I know from my background, what I read from the books, what I know from my dad or from my mom, then yes, Macanese. So I think naturally you will find yourself, your identity itself. So I think this have to be natural, not a pressure. Of course, for example, Juliana comment here, when you're born in 1999. That's what I said before. The different generations now, before the handover and after the handover, right? So what message we, as a father or mom, will pass to our legacy to our children? This is the question, the main question here. I think, for example, if I have the Portuguese heritage, if I want to pass this to my children, it will become natural. But the children or the kid will ask, okay, if I want to be interested on that. You cannot pressure on that, right? But somehow, if he is very interested, I think the legacy will continue. So let it be. Let it be. And I saw some, I will not say confusion, but Macanese is totally cultural. It's identity. It's cultural. It's not a nationality here. We are not talking nationality. We are talking about culture. Macanese is totally culture, period. In my opinion, okay? I totally agree. Who will be against my opinion, but this what I think it is. Macanese is cultural. We try to preserve this. We try to preserve this identity and this culture until what we can. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So, do you like to add something?
Regarding the term Macanese, I think it's interesting, and I personally, my view is to, without being really discriminatory, but because there are many registrations and books that when they talk about Macanese, they talk about the Eurasian, the Creole community with Macanese culture. So I've read a book that actually created another word, Macaoese, to refer to the general Macau population. I think that would be a way. It's not because we own this word, we don't want others to use it, but this word was given a meaning. The meaning is about Macanese, Maquista. So I think I'm a supporter to remain this word for our community, whereas we can always call the Macau people, Macau population, Macauese, so that people won't confuse, because nowadays we know the difference, right? But what about 50 years later, 60 years later, when people read about books, will they confuse with these people? So I don't know if my sharing of viewpoint can answer your question, but that's my opinion, yeah.
So do you want to say something about what your experience on that, actually?
I feel like there's a syndrome of like imposter syndrome. I feel like sitting on this, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but I stick out quite a bit compared to everyone else and what I contribute to the panel, honestly. But
No, you're contributing a lot.
from
Do you agree?
From the thank you
Yes.
so much.
Of course.
You're boosting my ego. I can't get out the door later. My head's gonna be so big. But it's for me being here. I'm just also taking it in. I feel like I'm an audience member as well, just listening from everything and what everyone has been contributing, both from the audience and the panel as well. And it's something that I've been wanting to work on. And I've always identified as someone who's Eurasian, and I've always been not as in touch with the Macanese culture and things like that. So to be able to hear from everyone in this room and their experiences and what their take on it, I think is something truly valuable that I can take back on my boat ride back to Hong Kong.
Good. So I think there is a question over there.
Yes, another young Macanese would like to comment. Well, first of all, after seeing this interaction, I think Antonio with AJM probably need to do more seminars or debate,
That cannot be 2
inviting
hours.
young
Cannot be 2
Macanese,
hours.
inviting young
It
Macanese.
needs to be a professional
We need to
Macanese.
be-
No,
we
but
need to
that
be-
young Macanese
yeah,
to-
resume.
Yeah, to
Fast forward, most fast forward.
yeah, to interact and comment. Well, Juliana, you said you were born in '99, and I don't know if I have any questions, but for someone that is the same generation as Antonio in the '80s, not gonna try to reveal my age,
Already
but from
old.
in the '80s, just like Isabella, right? Mentioned.
I'll say yes.
Yes. Mentioned this identity crisis. I don't know how it is for people that grew up in a monocultural and monolingual person like Portuguese, my partner here. I don't know how it is for people like them, but for me, myself, I also went through that. And just like Isabella, it took me many years. I remember I was at this dinner with Antonio, another friend, before, and I think on stage was a Portuguese band, and they were asking, "Oh, who are the Portuguese here?" And I was like, I'm half, so I lifted halfway, but I didn't go all the way through. I just half, and then it's also my appearance because I'm the 4th Macanese generation. So I have a Chinese father, a Macanese mother, so I don't really look mixed. So I also feel a bit of shame to admit, even though I went to Portuguese school until 6th grade, my father being a helicopter Chinese typical tiger father, he put me in the Chinese school at night to study with adults when I was 7. And then I eventually, because of the handover during high school, I changed to a Chinese school. English is always another language since young. So I understand this crisis, this doubt that you're going through. On the other hand, what you mentioned is very bold and straightforward. I think not a lot of Macanese are willing to admit and talk about the white supremacy or how we align more to the Portuguese culture and try to isolate the Chinese culture. However, even though I went through that crisis as well, nowadays what I see is it really depends on your family. Like having a Chinese father is inevitable. That we speak Cantonese at home. We have contact with TVB or Canto Pop growing up. But at the same time, I also with Macanese mother, grandmother and Macanese mother, I grew up listening to José Cid. I don't know if you know the Portuguese singer, but and also Duna Mackenzie. Duna Mackenzie. So and Catholic, growing up Catholic. So we have all this kind of mixture, and during many years I didn't know what I was. And sorry, I also had made some notes to respond to you. And just like Miguel said, at home, even though I never had Macanese food at home because my grandfather, my mom's father being Portuguese, he demanded only Portuguese food inside their home when my mom was growing up. So my mom only knew how to make Portuguese food and later learned Chinese food, and we used plates and fork in the household. And I think my mom refused to use plate and fork because she was so sick of using that growing up. She just said, this is my home, I'm gonna use a tigela, a bowl, and chopsticks. So this kind of everything is like, I'm not sure we can say that we are aligning one side and isolating the other side. But what I can say is that each Macanese is very unique. It's like a spectrum. I don't really think we are Macanese and this is this. Not like a Portuguese or Chinese or Spanish or. So we are a spectrum. So we kind of really depends on your background, your education background, decides how you are, what you are. Your family background, your friends who you mingle with more. But I do agree on one thing, is that I'm very sad looking at the kids in Portuguese school. As I know that a lot of them are Macanese. My friends' children are there as well. And it's very sad to see them speaking only English. And it's like that touch from my generation or maybe my parents' generation, which is switching between 3 languages. And it's sad, but at the same time, we also have to accept that society changes, generation changes. And I just wanted to say this. So thank you, as a young Macanese.
Thank you very much. I think at this point in time, of course, the floor is continued open for participation. We still have maybe 15 minutes, if Dr. Cunha allows 15 minutes. But I think at this point in time, there's so many. First of all, let me say that it was never my intention to come to any conclusion, because I think it's not important to come to conclusion. Important is to listen to what you have to say, and to give room for other conversations, because I think this is what we really need. And the second thing I like to say is that it's not bad to have identity crisis, actually. It's because you're thinking about yourself. And I think to have identity crisis means that we are questioning, and eventually we want to find answers. And I'm sure somewhere along the way you will find the answer for yourself, okay? I think Macanese are somehow very proud people. Yeah, I think we can proudly say we are proud, right? Proud of our identity. So it's not an excuse. I don't think anyone is Macanese because we have to find some excuse not to be this or that. I think because we want to be Macanese, okay? I forgot, maybe you can help, but there is someone who wrote about this thing about identity. I forgot the name of that author, but anyway. It's not an academic meeting, so you forgive sometimes I forget. I'm old now, so that's why I only moderating. But it's a sense of belonging. That's the thing. A sense of belonging. Okay. You want to? No, not the Bina Cabral. The main thing is the sense of belonging. And if you feel like, okay, I'm Macanese, I am Macanese. Everyone can be Macanese if you feel like Macanese. Sometimes I give some example of the past. Maybe there are many, many from the present, but I think about some very, famous people in Macau, like Rocky Choi. I was a friend of Rocky Choi and many of you. And my feeling when I look at Rocky Choi, which of course any of you know maybe, but Dr. Kunin, I see him as a Macanese because I think he felt to be part of this community, you know. Although, of course, he was a very prominent Chinese businessman, but also he used to be maybe the most classic bridge between the Macanese, between the Chinese and the Portuguese administration. Okay, he was a very, very important person. But of course, so it's the sense of belonging that is the most important thing. And then I think this, of course, the discussion about who is Macanese, who is not, it's a very, very complicated discussion, very long one. And I think somehow along the way, there is room for that. There's always a special space, let's say, intellectual space for that. But I think the most important thing that I would like today, this conversation that we are having today and the ones that will follow, is really to bring back the things, to bring up the things, and to maybe allow for further discussions, because this is not something that is going to end. So it's not something that is going to stop. And for instance, there are some, let's say, some ideas about Macanese, like, okay, we speak Cantonese, and of course we speak Portuguese, and well, we speak English. But just give you an example that happened today with my grandson, who is the first student of the Portuguese school, so it's young, very young. And I was with him, and a Chinese lady asked him, "Que lo soy ya? Que lo soy?" He didn't understood Cantonese. But then I said to her, ask him in Mandarin. She asked him in Mandarin, he immediately replied with very fluent Mandarin. And this is something that is happening because why? He grew up maybe not listening to Cantonese, listening to English, to Portuguese, and now he's studying Chinese, but it's Mandarin. So he knows Mandarin. So in the future, this Macanese, is not going to speak fluent Cantonese as in our generation and others that came after us, but will eventually speak Mandarin. So everything changed. What I want to say is that this is a changing world. Everything is transforming, everything is changing. But we still have to keep that idea, that feeling, that sense of belonging, that we belong to Macau. We belong to Macau. Of course, sometimes not physically. We are not in Macau. We were not born in Macau. We belong to what Antonia wants to stress, that this culture, this Macanese culture. I think this is really the very, very important thing that after listening to so many of you today, I can eventually, I'm not concluding, but I would say that I just want to stress that point from our conversation. But of course, we are not finished yet, so we can still exchange a couple of ideas, please. Any more? Anything else? Any questions? Dr. Rangel?
Hello, everybody.
Whoop.
Wow. Can you overnight a touch? I came here to listen only. I travel back and forth, Portugal and here, so I live there, I live here. And when I'm in Portugal, I feel that I'm a Portuguese from Macau. When I'm here, I'm Macanese, and feel very proud to be Macanese. I think you summarized everything very well, because you said you didn't want to conclude the meeting by summarizing what was said here, but I think you went very straight to the point. It's a sense of belonging. What characterizes our attachment to Macau. But then one point that I would like to mention, Antonio knows that we talk a lot about Macau, about the Macanese, about the future, not only about the past, although we produced many books, many studies, and many other publications about Macau, about our history. We always talk about the future, the challenges that we have to face. Things are moving very fast. Things are changing very fast here. So we have to be prepared for that. So I would like to congratulate you for this meeting, this discussion, which is very, very useful for all of us. And Salles Marques, because you have a special responsibility as president or chairman of the Conselho das Comunidades Macaenses, organizing more events, not only our our encontro das comunidades, but meetings like this one that we're having now are important for us to be more aware of what's going on, what each of us is doing. And of course, Isabella is doing a very important work, and I hope that your association can continue and become stronger with members, very active members, so that you can produce more. And I think it was very good to invite Rachel to be here. You have a fantastic
Yes.
father, fantastic father. He's very hardworking, very dedicated, and very effective as well. You know that. Of course, you don't have to agree with that because you know that you are.
He stared right at me, so I have to nod.
But I can say that because I can appreciate the work that he has been doing. He's a fantastic person. So I hope that your father can continue to make our presence in Hong Kong alive, permanent, because there's also a heritage in Hong Kong of the Portuguese heritage. There's also Macanese heritage that we have to continue to develop. And recently, I think Club Lusitano published a booklet with the history of the club, right? So things like that are very important. We should continue doing that. And I'm very glad to see that Club Lusitano is more and more concerned about Macau. Our links are becoming stronger and stronger. And your contribution, Rachel, was very important because you gave us your opinion from a completely different perspective. And you added something very important to our thoughts and our concerns. Of course, Antonio. Antonio is a key element now in our community as president of the Association of Young Macanese and also doing an excellent job in IIM. He's a key figure. So we have to all get together. Each of us can contribute more to strengthen our community and to end. We could spend hours talking about Macau. There's always be new subjects to bring to our meetings. But there are two words I would like to stress before closing. One is identity. We should continue feeling proud of our identity. Another one is the sense of belonging, because we are attached to Macau because we belong here. Sometimes my wife in Lisbon tells me, "Why are you going constantly to Macau and you leave me alone in Lisbon?" She travels with me sometimes, but sometimes she wants to remain there. She's feeling that age is affecting our everyday routines, and she doesn't travel that much anymore. But I say, well, because I lead two lives, one in Lisbon, one in Macau at the same time. I spend a few months there, a few months here, because the sense of belonging is really very strong. We belong here. This is our home. And whatever happens in the future, we have to work hard to continue making Macau our home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, before we end, let me ask our guests today just to make a very short round, starting with Miguel there in Lisbon. Please just say a few words before we close.
Sure. Once again, I think this kind of event is very important so that people will keep talking about the Macanese and the Macanese culture and the Macanese community. Just very short, going back to the lady that talks before, I didn't remember the name. When you have all this conflict sorted out, you will realize that being a Macanese is a good thing you have to be proud of, because you're much richer than what you said as a monoculture or mono whatever. So those that are only Portuguese or those are only Spanish, we are much richer and we are much, and even much more flexible and in our way of facing life and seeing life. It's good to be Macanese.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. Antonio.
Yes, allow me just to add one thing. I think we pick from Fatima is we are having young faces. We have young Macanese entering not only the Macanese Youth Association like Macro, you also have people there, right? So that doesn't matter AGM is doing more or Macro doing, we are not a competition. We are all working together as a Macanese culture, right? So what I'm bringing is when we face the associations, we are not just the board, we are also the members. people who is joining, like Juliana is part of the AGM. Fatima, I think you're also part of them. I think you are also a member. When the members can propose things, you can propose ideas, and we can join, like if you want a seminar, a gathering, use the association to promote yourself also, to talk about things. It's not only Antonio, okay? I don't want in the end of the day, in the newspaper, just be Antonio Monteiro. I don't want this, because this is a volunteer work. I can enjoy myself sitting in my home with my kid, enjoying the Netflix, okay? But I'm doing this because I believe this will continue, okay, until whatever the year is, but I want to continue with this, but of course I will not stay young forever. So I want to pass the torch someday to another one for the Macanese Youth Association, because I cannot be young forever. So maybe more 3 years, more 5 years, I don't know. But and then I pick myself and dedicate myself to another thing. But use the association, really, okay? Because you have a good platform. If you find macro easier, go to macro. Yes.
We work together.
Yes, we work together. Yes. But and now we have logistics, because AGM and macro, I think we don't have the logistics space.
Yeah.
We don't have association headquarters.
Yeah.
But we can use IAM, we can use the Macanese Association, and so on. So we still have a place to enjoy and to find ourselves. So I want to pass this message, because the association is not only for the board members, it's for the members too. Okay? Thank you.
Great. So, how about you?
I agree with Antonio on that, because actually the members of MACRA are not those that have been in different associations. I would say they are quite new into association when we try to form it. And that's the aim, to gather new people so that we can share. I think working with experienced as well as young people is important, because for us, like I say, we baby association, we learn a lot from other associations, and that's the main aim. So I think it is a great opportunity that we can share together. I met some new friends, and so we can collaborate, and hopefully this will bring us forward with more concrete work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, how about you? Yes.
What I do for work, I work in events. So it's nothing to do with
Events,
Macanese
great.
at all. And also growing up with the term, I don't know whether you know, third culture kid. It's, yeah, so it's sort of that lack of identity. It's always just not knowing where you fit. You just have a little bit of everything, but you don't feel enough for any of them. And to be able to be here and listen to everyone, and to have these associations where I can further educate myself and other people who don't identify with Macanese culture, to educate them as well. I think that's really important and really strengthening that sense of belonging. Personally, that's how I really feel. So thank you very much. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, all of you. And thank you for being here tonight. And of course, last but not least, thank you very much, Fundação Rui Cunha, for inviting us to do this series of talks and roundtable discussions on Macanese. Well, this is a great contribution that you are actually giving to the Macanese and to Macau as well, as always. Thank you very much. So. Ok. Obrigado, Miguel.
Sempre um gosto. Foi um prazer.